Hello friends, hopefully I'm live. Surprised to see me? I'm surprised too. Today is going to be the start in a very random little series that I'm calling Mini Motivations. The whole idea behind this is, to be honest, there's some days I have ideas, there's hot button things, there's questions that people ask me that are not really enough for a well thought out video. I just want to rant about them, ramble about them, chat about them in a more relaxed fashion. So today, the hot button topic that I wanted to talk to you about, I've got a coffee here, it's blooming roasting. The hot button topic that I wanted to talk to you all about is customer support. This is something that so many people ask about, comment about, rant about, so I thought it was my turn to bring in the chat. So customer support is super important. Etsy tell us that your shop score is part in this ranking. It's a part in ranking of all your items. It is super important. They look at your customer feedback and all of these things to decide how your shop is doing, to decide if they trust you to rank your items. So good customer support is super awesome. However, so many people are worried about being scammed by customers or being out of pocket and things like this. So I just wanted to cover this today to talk about, are you going to be getting scammed, what you're going to do for customer service, because I think so many people, it's almost like there's one way or the other. There's no midpoint. People either bend over backwards giving away stuff to customers, and some unscrupulous people are taking advantage of that, so that basically people are making no money, that people are coming to these platforms to get stuff for free because they know they can hold people hostage for the order dissatisfaction score. They know they can say, hey, there was really nothing wrong with this, but I want you to sort it out anyway. Give me free stuff, else I'll give you a bad review. Or you have the other end of the scale where people are pretty much like, it's absolutely not my fault. Everything was fine. I sent it out. If you have a problem, it's not my fault anymore. Excuse me. Here comes a cough. Hello there, Lily. How are you doing? So this is what I wanted to talk about, just the whole how to deal with a customer support thing. And the first thing that I want to say is, I know you see in the forums, and I mentioned it here, it feels, you fear that there's a lot of really bad customers out there. And I will tell you, in like over 1,000 sales, I've had two bad customers, two customers that are that that at the end of the day I just decided my blood pressure is not worth it, and I just refunded them and ditched them, and if they ordered again they wouldn't be getting anything. I've had a couple of customers that were stressful, but okay, and in the main the majority of my customers have been fantastic. So yeah, I'm not going to say that you should be fearing that the majority of them will be rubbish. The majority of the customers are really good. So I just wanted to get that out there. CJ Phoenix in the house. Hello there. Right, so if you get a bad customer, if you get one of these customers that is holding you to ransom, the very first thing to do is check in your policies, see what your shop policies, what you decided to do about this is, and if the situation, if they're completely being unreasonable and is within your shop policies, it's something you said. For instance, if a customer is being an absolute jerk, but they clearly ordered the size, they clearly specified a certain size, and you sent them that exact size, and they're complaining that your item is the size that you said it is, but that doesn't work for them. Now you can work with them to sort things out. If they're a decent customer, absolutely work with them, possibly have them shoulder the cost of the shipping fee to get something changed. But if someone is basically just going, I got exactly what I ordered and it's rubbish, I want all my money back and to keep the item, no. Simple as that, no. Etsy will back you up, and if they give you low feedback, sometimes just take it on the chin. 1 or 2 bits of low feedback isn't going to kill your shop if in general you're good. So just take it on the chin. If it's not in your policies, if it's something you hadn't thought of, sometimes you have customers come up with things that you hadn't even thought of. So you can take that mistake on the chin. You can take that on the chin, just refund them, do whatever, get them out of your hair, and adapt your policies just to make sure it doesn't happen in future. Not so much difficult customers, but one thing I've had, customers do not read descriptions. Absolutely do not read anything. They just see the photograph sometimes and just hit buy. And I've had that, and most of my items are custom listings, so the photograph is just an example. But especially at busy times, you get customers, hit the mic, you get customers who will just buy that and then you never hear from them. I try and email them, I try and contact them, I completely never hear from them. And sometimes I've refunded them on that, and then I thought about it, they're clicking on and buying that order based on that picture. That's what they want. So I've put in my policies, if I don't hear from someone within a week, I will assume what they are wanting is a replica of what's in the main picture. So I just make them that, and that saves a lot of trouble. I mean, I've back and forward trying to get hold of someone for weeks and weeks, and finally they say, no, I wanted that. So it's like, okay, I put in my policies. If you ain't read it and you ain't getting in touch with me, you're getting what you ordered. And I've had no trouble with that at all. So yeah, there's something to look at. If the same thing keeps happening, look at your policies. Obviously, the other thing is, look at it. Is it a genuine, reasonable complaint? When I started out, I had a few people message me and say, the item was perfect, the item was lovely, but I used to ship in like padded Jiffy bags, and they would say the bags were ripped and pretty beaten up. So, and thankfully they didn't mark me down, they didn't hold it against me, but they were letting me know. Now I could get all defensive about that and just be, well, that's not my fault, that's the postal service or whatever else, but I took it on the chin and I said, okay, I'm getting feedback that's saying my shipping materials are not good enough, they're not fit for purpose really, they're not making it through the mail good enough. And let's say your customer, as a customer, your experience when your item comes to you and the packaging is so beat up, immediately that spoils it a bit for you. So, I mean, we've seen yesterday, I was opening up the makers' boxes and just their whole packaging and everything's perfect and beautiful, and it's a joy to open it. So I thought, okay, I have to move on and make better, do better. So I upped my packaging, and I think I'm going to have to up it again to something a bit prettier, because yeah, the makers is inspiring me there. But look at it and see, is this relevant feedback? If customers are coming to you a lot and saying the items are breaking in the mail, that's the worst thing. If the items are breaking in the mail, now I know that this must be a US thing, because in the UK, in the EU, a customer can ask for their money back. They don't need a reason. They've got like 2 weeks unless it's a personalised thing. Customer can demand their money back. End of story. But I see in the Etsy policies, it's saying that a customer can't open a case if the item was damaged in shipping. And a lot of people have in their policies, if it's damaged in shipping, it's not my fault. No problem. Nothing to do with me. And you put yourself in the customer's shoes. I would not buy from a shop that said that, because what that says is you're taking a gamble. If you're going to get the item that you paid for, it might break in shipping. So as a customer, I would think this is pretty rubbish and it's not worth shopping at that shop from. And if I had that experience with a lot of sellers from a platform, if I came to Etsy new and I tried to buy a few things and they all appeared broken and the sellers are going, that's totally not my fault, then I wouldn't come back even to the platform. I certainly wouldn't use that shop again. I would be wary of using any of these kind of sellers, because that's not what you expect. If I order something, then I expect to get that item as described in working order. So basically, yeah, I feel the buck stops with me. If something gets broken in transit, firstly, apologise profusely. You totally apologise. Certainly in the UK, the seller, me, would be responsible for contacting my post office to get a refund on that, because at the end of the day, the seller pays me to get the item to them, and then I choose the shipping carrier. I pay the post office. My contract is with the post office to subcontract my need to get the item to the customer. So if the person I've subcontracted to do a part of my job to doesn't do it properly, the onus is on me to chase them up. The onus is on me to claim my money back. The onus is on me to make sure that my shipping carrier does the job I've paid them for. It's not on the buyer. The buyer's job is just to open the door and go, here is my wonderful parcel, I love it. This is my opinion here, and this is certainly how it would work for the EU. Let me know in the chat if the US or anything is different, but even with the rules, I would certainly say the buck stop. If a buyer comes in and says this is totally broken, a lot of people are almost like immediately defensive, going, that's not my fault, you're just trying to rip me off, this is terrible. No, our job is to believe the buyer, but with caution. So what you would do in this situation is, firstly, apologise unreservedly. I'm sorry for that. I'm going to try and do what I can to rectify this problem. Can I ask, could you send me photographs of the container and the item so I can see this, so I can chase it up with my postal company to see what they did wrong? And also so you can look into if your packaging is insufficient. Can you get different packaging? Can you package things differently? Or, simply, is the post office, or is whatever you're using not good enough because stuff's just thrown into bags? If your item is high value, fragile items, do you need to look into a different type of courier? See if this has cooled down yet. Let's just check the chat. Slava, last week I got my first bad review. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Customer was complaining the box was smaller than she imagined. My sizes are in my description, right? Yeah, your sizes are in your description. There's nothing you can do with that. That's their mistake. And with that, first port of call, what I would do is to message the customer, trying to be polite, but not taking the blame because it's not your fault. But just something, I'm trying to think, right, someone else help me out with this, a way of wording this. But basically what you're wanting to say is, basically, this is with, the sizes are in the description, this is the size that you ordered. I'm terribly sorry if you have it in a larger size that she would have that she would have wished for. Just say, are you wanting it in this larger size? I could do this for you. You would just have to pay this amount and send that box back. But make it politely clear that the mistake isn't yours. And then if they don't if they're not wanting to do anything, like, you can't coerce, and don't ask them about the review. The review's happened, and to be perfectly honest, sadly, for your order dissatisfaction rate, even if they change it, even if the customer changes a bad review to a good review, that doesn't change your ODR. So sadly, the review's already happened. If the customer doesn't want to work with you, if you do your best but the customer doesn't want to work with you, then is the time to reply to the review. Don't do this until the last the last port of call, because when you reply to a review, then that locks it in so the customer couldn't change it. But then is the time to politely respond to the review, just along the lines, I'm trying to think how to word it, that is basically, I'm sorry you were not happy. Don't take the blame. I'm sorry you were not happy. My sizes are in my description, and I tried to work with the customer, but unfortunately was unable to in this time. The other thing is that, to have a look. If it happens a lot, because customers don't read, look at where your sizes are in the description. Can they be moved up the description? Can you add to your photographs some more on the sizing of it? If it happens a lot, even, you can do things like you can add personalizations to your item that says, I have read and I agree that the size is this size, type yes. Anything that just gets them to be like they have absolutely paid attention. If it's something that happens often, you're saying this is your first bad review, so it's just one idiot customer. Let's be honest about it. But yes, don't reply to the reviews immediately. Try and work with the customer. But yeah, that is entirely their fault. I've had it. Thankfully, it was only a 4-star review, not a 5-star review. But they said my bookmark was smaller than they expected, where I have a picture of my bookmark in a paperback book that they can see the size of it, and it's about 1/3 the width of an actual book, and it's the full length of the book. So not entirely sure what anyone could be wanting there, but I was just like, yeah, whatever. George on the Rocks, good morning there. Well, for a surprise live stream, we've got a lot of people here. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. Laura finally made it to a live stream. Awesome. Yeah, really great to see everyone here. This is a surprise. Slava, sorry, is there a better way I can call you? I don't know if I'm being rude here, but I know that my tongue will make a mess of your name. If it's broken, I definitely resend their items. Yeah, exactly. Sometimes you've got to take things on the chin. If your item's likely to break, then you do. And I see ODR is not active at the moment. Yeah, Etsy has to help us out at the minute in time, because the postal service is so much, not even slower, it's random just now. And absolutely, I mean, the postal workers have had to deal with Christmas plus size traffic, while at the same time, hopefully, they're performing social distancing so they can't work in such confined quarters, and obviously some of their members will be off sick as well. So this is a super difficult time for the post office. So Etsy has disabled the fact of our shops being killed for things not turning up on time, because customers will complain, even so we know. But yeah, it's totally random. I sent a few items to America, and one of them got there in 6 days. Just now, 6 days. And I posted other things to the UK at the same time, and it took longer to get from one side of the UK to the other than to get from one side of the UK to the airport, to fly to America, to get through customs, and to get to my customer. So yeah, things are completely random. So Etsy has been good for us just now, because it's not our fault that shipping's a bit crazy. And yeah, you're seeing that on all sites. I've been buying on eBay, and there's big banners up saying, shipping's crazy. That's not their words. That's not very good customer service. But shipping is experiencing delays. There we go. CJ, when photographing your stuff, put a tape measure beside it. Unfortunately, most customers don't read this description. They do look at pictures. Yes, absolutely. You can put a tape measure. People used to put like a coin. The problem is obviously worldwide. If you put a dime beside your item, I'm not entirely sure how big a dime is. The same if I put a 50p piece, will that help people? So yeah, a tape measure. You can be fancy and put kind of scales, yourself overlaying the picture. You can, have an overlay saying, that's 12 inches, that's whatever. And the other thing, inches and centimeters. But if you're selling internationally, make sure that you're covering all the units of measurement that all the customers will understand, because we all do different. Because obviously, certain measurements are different in different countries, and that goes for, like, if you're making shoes or clothes or whatever. Shoe sizes are different, clothes sizes are different around the world, and I think even standard, like, cuts of wood are different sizes in different places in the world. So yeah, make sure the measurements are clear for everywhere you're likely to be shipping to, because people don't. In fact, yeah, I believe letter size paper in the UK, everyone knows A4 paper. In fact, I have some sitting here. Everyone knows A4 paper is this size. If you sell something A4, you know absolutely what A4 is. However, I believe America's letter paper is just a teeny bit shorter than A4. This was brought to my attention. What it actually was, YouTubers send out little letters of congratulation if you get to a certain number of subscribers. I'm nowhere near that yet. Hopefully one day, when you hit 100,000 subscribers, what a number! When you hit 100,000 subscribers, they send you out an award, and they also send out a little letter. And this person was trying to frame the letter and got a standard frame from IKEA for A4, because it looked A4, and then realised there's just a little bit at the bottom, because American letter paper is slightly different than A4 letter paper. So yeah, always to be aware of these things. And the Slava is okay. Thank you so much. I'm never sure how to section up people's names. Products, not produce. Can you tell I'm hungry, CJ? Absolutely. I figured it was something like that. Right, where did I get to with... I'm probably nearly finished this rant. It was only designed to be a short little motivation, but just to think on what the customer's expectation is. When you're dealing with a customer, first of all, think, if you were in their shoes, what would you want? And that doesn't mean bend over backwards. If a customer's being absolutely unreasonable, the customer's not always right. And you have to decide, if they're being completely unreasonable, like I've had two customers. I did the stories on here before, and I sold their items on eBay afterwards for a fraction of the price. But they were just being completely rude. One of them I completely could not get in touch with about their sculpture. They sent me the pictures of the dog they wanted. I couldn't get in touch with them once I'd made it, and my policy state, if I can't get in touch with you, I will send it out, because I've already made this thing. So I couldn't get in touch with them, so I sent the sculpture, and about 4 weeks later they got back to me, and it wasn't just, I'm not happy, could you fix this? Because most of the time I make small tweaks to a sculpture. I send the first picture and they'll say, can you make the nose shorter, can you add this spot, can you do this thing? Because what makes your dog personal to you is sort of different for everybody. So they got back to me, and rather than just say, this is kind of, I'm not happy with this, was there any way you could change this? It was, I showed this to my friends laughed at how ugly this was, and it was just so insulting. And when you actually got into the meat of it, they wanted like 2 tiny changes. It wasn't vastly wrong, they just wanted 2 tiny things that I could have super easily changed. But they were so rude. And in the time that I got that email, and I was trying to compose myself to send a professional email back, but in the time that I got that email, they opened a case because I wasn't answering quick enough. And I was just like, oh my goodness. Right, raging now. So I decided to step away and leave. This was a Saturday at like 7 o'clock at night, all this was going down. So I decided to just step away and leave it until I'd calmed down a bit. And then I messaged them the next day, and I just decided that the easiest thing, they wanted their money back. So I told them, return the item in its original condition and I will refund you your money, even though it's against my policies. You know, I'm terribly sorry you're not happy, but my thinking was I could have stood my ground. I don't do refunds on custom pieces, but I just figured all the stress and energy that's going into this, they've opened a case against me. I don't want them owning a piece of my work. So I just said, send it back to me. And so they sent it back to me, and yeah, I refunded them, and then the case was closed. So sometimes that's what you've got to do. If the stress, yeah, I could have stood my guns. Etsy probably would have backed me up, but yeah, I would have been weeks of feeling stressful. I just said, send it back to me. I actually was so unsure about them that I filmed myself opening the box when I got it back, because I was like, see if they've done anything to this. But thankfully it was in perfect condition, so I just refunded them. But yeah, there's been 2 customers like that in the well, that was the only one I'd sent out. There was another one that messaged me when I'd sent them the initial pictures. They're like, no, that's nothing like what I want. That's terrible, that's awful, that's ugly. It's always that's ugly. And so I was like, well, what changes can I make? What were you wanting? And says, well, I was expecting it to be more like this. And they put up a picture from a different needle felter who charges like 3 times the amount that I do. And I was like, really? And so I was just like, look, I'm not copying other people's work. That's a different artist. Really, what had happened, they'd ordered from me, I'd started work, and they'd found this other artist and they wanted to order from them. So they had a hissy fit when I showed them my item, and then more so when I said I wouldn't copy another artist's style. So in the end, I just refunded them, and I sold their items on eBay, where it went to someone who just lost dogs that looked a little bit like that and absolutely loved them. So yeah, I could have stuck to my guns, but they weren't worth it. They didn't deserve my items. So yeah, so I mean, two really bad customers, a couple of slightly stressful customers, and the rest have been great. Other thing, yeah, there's remembering, if things don't turn up in time, now especially if you're shipping internationally, and I get it, customers can get frustrated, sometimes around Christmas time or just now, things can be fairly delayed, so customers will message after a week, maybe 2 weeks, which is within the time frame that you don't expect it to be there yet. Customers will message and they'll be like, where's my item, where's the tracking? Now, as standard in the UK, we don't get tracking on our items. You can pay extra, but they didn't pay extra for tracking. In general, it isn't worth the effort, because the tracking gets to the customs in America within like a day, and then you see nothing until it goes delivered, so it doesn't help you. It doesn't get updated. So people will contact me if it's just within a week, then I'll just show them the things on the post office site that says they can take 7 to 14 days. If it's closer to the time, if they've waited a sensible amount of time, I will just ask them if they can check with their neighbours and their post office if it's already tried to be delivered, and if there's no sign of it within the next week, can they email me back again? And so if it's got to 3 weeks, the post office I think don't let us claim until it's been a month, but if it's got to 3 weeks, 90% of the time when I send that mail out, people don't get back to me, or well, they get back to me to say, oh, the item's just appeared, or my neighbour had taken it in. So that, that's super fine. If they get back to me and they're saying no, and it's been 3 weeks, then I will ask them, do you want a refund, or would you like me to create another item and send it out? And whatever they want to do. I have one time, it was to Germany, and he'd wanted it in a certain time frame, and I could make it and send it out, and it would get there in that time frame. So I made another one, sent it to him, absolutely no problem, got a good review for it, it was all good. And about 3 months later, incredibly beat up through the mail, my original one came back to me, so I was able to sell that on again anyway. It just got completely lost in the mail. Other times I've had customers just want a refund, and yeah, I've only refunded a couple of times, and both of those times the customer got back to me afterwards and said that the item had turned up and they would like to pay for it again. So yeah, you can't say customers are all terrible. I think that was surprisingly honest. I'd written them off as not arrived, and I was going to start the claim through the post office, and then the customer came back and said, how do I pay you? It's arrived, it's fantastic. Even once she'd wanted it for Christmas, it didn't arrive till the middle of January, but she still wanted to pay me for it, and she said, I'll give it to my friend for her birthday. So yeah, customers can be awesome. Where are we? George, you work in retail as well as being a massage therapist. Oh, fantastic. Well, you know about dealing about customers. Yeah, it's all about customer service. Absolutely. And your tone can make a big difference. I think if you see a message from your customer and you're instantly feeling they're trying to rip me off, this is terrible, take a step back and don't send the message till you've calmed down, and make sure that your message, a lot of people, that seems rude, they're trying to be polite, but because they were mad, their message seems rude. Oh, and yeah, absolutely, unless you're from China, which it seems to be okay, but I wouldn't use terms of endearment like dear when you're responding to a customer, especially not if you're responding to a customer in the UK. If I was to, the more polite we get, so if I start calling you sir or madam, I'm getting a bit mad. If I called you dear, that's a full out insult. The politer we get, the more insulting we are. So absolutely, I wouldn't use those terms of endearment. Personally, for me on Etsy, I wouldn't use sir or madam, I wouldn't use dear, I would use their name still. I would still try and keep it personal and light rather than going too professional. And it's the same, a lot of people address in their messages they talk we and us as if talking about a company, which if you are a company, fine, but one of the great things about Etsy is you're buying from the creator, you're buying from the artist. So personally, I would always make it personal. I am sorry, I have done this, me. It is coming from me, it's not coming from we. That's just my beliefs. Okay, I think my coffee is actually getting cold. So I've chatted for longer than I thought. If anyone has any questions, comments, or anything else, I'll give you a couple of minutes to ask your questions, and then I'll leave you to the rest of your day. And let me know what you think of this kind of format, which is just basically like, I had an idea, I wanted to talk about it, rather than sit down and script a formal video. I think this is just a little thing between you and me that we needed to get off my chest just immediately. So yeah, let me know if this is something you want more of, or if you would prefer if I actually sat down and wrote a script. And I can't say when I'll do these things, as I'm calling them mini motivations, so they'll appear when I feel motivated. So you have to remember and subscribe and hit the bell notification to get warnings that I'm about to do this. Right, Mike. Etsy has told me there's no department for disputing feedback, but yet they punish you hard for feedback even if it's incorrect. I know, yeah. I know, is all I can say. And like I said, even when a customer changes the feedback, even if you give good customer support and they change the feedback, there's no recompense for this. And little secret thing, because those of you that know, I also work for eRank, although these videos have nothing to do with eRank. But we have discovered on the API, this is the stuff that Etsy sends out to other companies that eRank can get hold of to get the data and stuff to help you out. Your feedback score doesn't change. You can look in your shop and say, I have all 5-star feedback. But if someone had given you a 1-star and then immediately changed it, Etsy in the API doesn't change that. So, interesting is all I can say. But yes, I think they need some work on that. But thankfully, the majority of customers are good and leave good feedback. So the little bit of incorrect feedback in general doesn't hurt you too bad. Although we all know that, yeah, some shops get shut down when they shouldn't be, and yeah, it's not always perfect. So yeah, don't rely on Etsy as your only source of income, because it's a platform that you don't control, and their terms do say they can refuse anyone a shop, they can shut anyone down at any time. That's not just an Etsy thing, that's every single platform. I could lose my YouTube channel tomorrow if YouTube decided they didn't like the colour of my hair and they said, no, we're wanting rid of Pam. They can shut me down. Etsy can shut me down. eBay can shut me down. I've not sold on there for over a year. But any platform has in their terms that they can shut you down. So yeah, don't rely on the one place. CJ, now you can go to bed, it's 5 AM. Wow, yeah, go to bed. I thought I was bad, I didn't get to sleep till about 3. George, this is great. Normally I'm at work. Luckily there was riots, looting last night. Not lucky at all. I hope everyone's okay. I've been seeing on the news everything that's happening, and yeah, that's horrible. Cheyenne, is that how I say your name? That's lovely. Love catching you live, and the topic is perfect. It's 5:20 AM in San Diego, and I should be asleep. Oh, you night owls! You're putting me to shame. I thought I was a night owl. Yeah, Mike. eBay is not that strict on negative reviews. They understand that some buyers are nuts. Yeah, you'll learn. But yeah. Some buyers are nuts. That's all you can say. And customers know that as well. Don't stress out. If you get a bit of negative feedback and you read what the feedback says and it clearly sounds nuts, everyone else will know it's nuts. The most important thing is, when you decide you're going to reply to that feedback, as I said, make sure that you want to reply to it just now, because it will lock it in. Make sure your reply is professional. Not for the customer that left the review, but for the other people reading it since. They want to feel safe that if they come to your shop, they're going to get a good customer experience. So if they see a nutter and they see that you're professional and you've done your best, awesome. If they see a nutter and they see you're there accusing them and saying it's all their fault and they're terrible and blah blah, then yeah, that'll make it look bad for you. Laura, thank you, Pam. Hey, it's so nice to see you live. Enjoy the sun up in Scotland. I hear it's a scorcher. It is. I ordered the other day. shipping different prices. I ordered some little USB fan things that you fill with water and they kind of humidify the place, and they're super cheap, and they came in 2 days. So I have little USB fans that I'm hoping to be able to use in my car as well, which will be awesome. But yes, it's utterly a scorcher. Oh, another name. Irma. Thank you. Just saying what I can call you. Am I saying that right? Irma. It's 19:24 p.m. here in Indonesia. Wow, perfect time for you. Wow, so that's cool. That's good. If I try some random times, you're all being night owls, or it's a nice evening for you. That's good to know. Right. Anyway, guys, I'll let you get back to your day. If you have any ideas for little random rants that I can do at any point, just leave them in the comments and I might do your rant. Thank you so much for joining me. Have